Okay, hello, welcome to the live stream. Thanks for being here today. Today we're going to be painting a little tomato. Yeah, welcome to the live stream. Thanks for being here. I've got this little reference photo for us today. If you're new here, make sure you follow me on like Instagram and Facebook, because if you want to join, you can tag me on there and then I can see all of your little creations if you decide to paint along. If not, then just hang out, ask some questions, and we're gonna paint this little tomato today. I figured I'd pick something a little bit easier today, this is a busy week for me. We're packing to go on our trip next week, so I wanted a nice little easy reference photo for everyone. Welcome to the stream. I'm gonna start out with colors that we're gonna use. So today, this palette isn't going to be super crazy. We have a pretty basic palette. I'm just gonna put out a few colors because we don't need to put out a ton. So we've got alizarin crimson and cadmium red light. We're gonna also use some titanium white as well. And then, did you do an audio check, Arvin?
That's fine.
All right. Always got to get hubby to do the audio check to make sure. We've also got cadmium yellow light that we'll use. And then sap green, I thought, for the stem part. And then use a little bit of cerulean blue hue and some ultramarine blue. Pretty much all the regular colors. We're not using the quinacridone magenta or the quinacridone red today because I don't think we need it. Same with, I don't think we need any warm white today. So I'll just keep that off the palette because I'm not going to be able to use the extra colors because I only have so much time before our trip. How's everyone's day going? Oh, yesterday I did something new. I went with my friend and we went to like a pottery painting place. Yeah, we went to a pottery painting place and I've always wanted to do that. And so I ended up making like a little small bowl and then like a bigger bowl. I have them on my Instagram stories if you want to see them. They have the little soot spirits from Spirited Away with like the little candy stars. It's so cute. I'm excited to see how it turns out. Because like you never know what the colors are going to look like until you actually fire it. I wanted to do kind of like a dark bluish background with like some like little clouds on it. So like a dark sky blue with some like clouds, and then I've got like the soot spirits kind of like around the edges, and then I put a bunch of the candy stars like in the inside of the bowl. I think it looks pretty cute. So that was really fun. I would like to do pottery painting again. That's one thing. I'm like, oh, I wish I could do like pottery at home. I have so many ideas of like things that I would try to make. I think next time we might even try to do like the actual class where you get to like make the pottery too. I've always wanted to try like shaping the pottery and then like painting it afterwards as well. Okay, just getting all of these ones on the palette and then we can start mixing colors. Lots of fun colors today. And we've also got this last one here. Okay, I'll go over the colors again just to make sure you got all the names of the colors if you're following along. So the first one there is titanium white, and then we've got alizarin crimson, cadmium red light, we've got cadmium yellow light, sap green, cerulean blue hue, and ultramarine blue. And that should be all the colors we need. Okay, for mixing, I'm going to put this here. I'm going to be mixing off of this one, but you can also download the reference photo over there on my website as well. I send them out every week, so if you want to get like the reference photos sent to your inbox, then you can sign up for my email list, and I make sure to send out a notification there with the reference photo and then like the live stream link so you don't forget about it. I will put this over here. Okay, first, I think we'll just start mixing the red colors first. Now, I'll bring out my little color wheel again, which has been super handy. This red, so, is kind of closer to this cadmium red light, and that's probably what we're going to use as like the base color. We've got some oranges in there as well, so there's kind of all of this spectrum. So we're going to be using a lot of this spectrum for the red today. We've kind of got more of that orangish color in there, and then it kind of goes to that darker alizarin crimson over here. And then we've got some really nice little highlights here. These are kind of like a bluish highlight, and then these ones kind of have more of like an orangish yellow highlight on this side. And we've got some like fun little highlights in here. Actually, I should grab I have painted this before. I did this with one of my friends. I was teaching her about color mixing and painting, and so I actually painted this before. This was the little painting I did last time, so that's what we're going to do today, is I'm going to try to recreate this little tomato. I will maybe put that up on the little easel over here. Keep the color wheel here so you guys can see the color wheel. It's definitely worth it to make a color wheel, and then you have an idea of what all the colors you have for mixing are. Yeah, let's start, like I said, I think with the red is going to be our way to go. So we will start with the cadmium red light. And anytime you're color mixing, you want to keep color matching, so you just kind of put it over top and see where the base color kind of matches. So we actually will use some of the base color anyway. So I'll just grab like a little bit. We'll use that as like one of the starting colors. And then we'll go from here by taking it lighter and darker. So we'll maybe do the darker one first. So we'll use a little bit of this alizarin crimson. Get a slightly darker one. See if that's dark enough or if we need to add a little bit more. It's like pretty close. I think we needed a little bit darker. A little bit more alizarin crimson in there. This one's a pretty easy one to do as well. So I would say this is like a really good beginner or starter one to try out if you ever want to try painting. There we go. So we've got the darker color here. And then we've also, down here, we've got almost kind of like a purpley color. So we're going to take this and we're going to add a little bit of ultramarine blue to it. And a little bit more alizarin crimson. Get that dark purple color. And that's going to be the darkest part down here for the shadow. I like to do purple shadows. I think they're a little bit more fun to do a bit of purpley shadow. I'm going to make it more on the red end though, the purple. That should be pretty nice. It's going to be kind of our darkest color there. And then we need to make some lighter colors as well. but I do want to clean off the palette before we make the lighter colors, because that is going to go into the light colors if we don't clean it off. The pigments transfer really easily. You want to make sure you clean off your palette in between colors. We're going to grab a bit of this cadmium red light. And then from there, we're going to start adding a little bit of yellow. So we're not going to, like, we want to be more on the orange end anyway. So we're going to add a little bit of that yellow in there. But we also don't want to get it too light. So we don't want to add any white or anything to it. Let's see if that's okay. See what we got. Oh, that's perfect for that light color, the lighter one right there. And then we also need a bit more of those lighter colors, so I'm going to take some yellow. Not quite that bright. We've got to go like that's pretty good. And then I'm also going to do a lighter one. So I want to start adding a little bit of white to it for some of these shadows or highlights in this part where the light is shining. So we're going to take that off of there. Going to add a little bit of white to this one. So the titanium white. Try not to add too much to begin with. This will give us a nice highlight color on the side of the tomato there. You don't need too much white, it makes it pretty pastel, like quickly. Yeah, that's what we're looking for. And then the other thing we're going to need is we're going to need some of these blue highlights, but we'll do that maybe. Okay, we got to clean off the palette to do those blue highlights because we really don't want to mix any of this red and oranginess we've got going on here into the highlight color. As clean of a surface as possible for this highlight color. And I'm going to take the smallest amount of cerulean blue. Don't want a lot because it's super pigmented. Just add little bits at a time. It's always better to add just a little bit. And you can always add more if you need to. Okay. I feel like that's pretty good. Put that at the top of the palette there. Now we're going to work on the green there for the stem part. Okay. We've got sap green. I love using sap green. You can also mix a green if you would like as well. Sap green is kind of like a phthalo blue with a few other pigments. And then I also, we'll use that as the darkest part on the palette there. And then we'll work our way to a slightly lighter color I will add a little bit of yellow to that. And it's almost my favorite color. I love lime green. We don't quite want it lime green. Oh, I'm bumping my bumping my camera. This is more of like a dark green, but I do want a slightly brighter green. It's pretty good. And I don't want to add too much yellow to that because we don't want it too bright. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna start adding a little bit of titanium white to that. I'm making some of the like highlight colors that are in there. A little bit more sap green. It's a pretty good stem color there. And then there's also a little bit of like a yellow kind of on the tip there. And we're going to make that just by adding the yellow to the green here. A nice green color. We're going to add a little bit of red to it to desaturate it. Give us kind of like a brownish yellow. A bit more yellow in there. That's a nice little stem color. You don't need, honestly, a lot of this pigment, but just to have some variation in colors. Okay. And I think we've pretty much got all the colors we need at this point. So what we can do, I'm going to clean off my palette here. So I normally just kind of clean off this area in case we have to mix in the middle. I don't think we will. This is like enough pigments. I've already got my sketch done too, so if you're watching the replay, you can always pause it and get a little sketch done. I'm going to go to the paint scene, and I'm going to put up going over my cables a little bit. I will move the camera too so you guys can see me better, but I thought I would get the painting up first. You can see both. There we go. That's good. Okay, let me move the camera too, so then you can see me while I'm painting. Not that you can see my face a ton when I'm painting because I'm like off to the side, but that works. So quick to color mix those. Hey, Arvin. Arvin? I'm just gonna get it then. He's not listening. Gotta go grab stuff. I am grabbing I was asking you stuff. You had your headphones on. Just cleaning my camera screen. I use this to film like the shorts and stuff, so gotta have a clean lens. I feel like I'm constantly just cleaning my lenses. The other thing is I'm always running out of storage space on all of my devices because I'm like filming all these things so often. Okay, so we want to start out with a bigger brush first. So bigger for a small painting. These are 3" by 3" paintings. So I tend to use brushes that are smaller than like number 4 brushes. I don't really use anything. Sometimes I use, I guess, the number 6 brush, but right now I'm going to use a number 2 Seneca brush. You always want to start out with like the bigger brushes and work kind of on the bigger areas first, and then you go to the smaller ones. Okay. Oh, I've got the wrong one. There we go. I'm going to erase the sketch a little bit so you can like only just see it. So I've got like a little gummy eraser, and that'll help take just a little bit of the graphite off instead of taking it all off at once. And looks like a nice day outside right now. Okay, so all I do is I like just kind of dab it off a little bit. And as you'll see, that just kind of takes, you can kind of see it here, where it just takes off a little bit of the graphite. The sketch is mostly just to be like, okay, this is where the tomato is gonna go. We only need a small little like outline of where it is. Just so it's like center on the paper when we paint it. I never used to do sketches, and then I'm like, yeah, I probably should like do some sketches because it like bugs me a lot. I've got just a little bit of linseed oil. I'm oil painting, so I've got linseed oil on the side just to clean my brushes normally, or use it with titanium white. I find doesn't spread as well, so I use it for that. We're gonna start out with maybe this like bright red first, and then we'll work our way to those darker areas, and then we'll go lighter after that because I kind of want to add the darker areas first. That's one tip if you take any art class, all art teachers will say that paint what you see, not what you think it is. So I was saying this last week, if you're struggling with laying things down on a white surface. You could also paint it on like a colored surface. Do like a little like underpainting. For the red one, you could probably do some sort of contrasting color, like a green if you wanted. It would pop pretty nicely on the green. But I like to have the white backgrounds. It's kind of my little, I guess, signature style now. Okay, we're gonna go into this darker red as well now. Slowly start kind of adding it in this area. I'm gonna keep this painting like super simple too. I don't wanna go into too much detail with this. It's a great painting for that because there's not a ton of like texture in the tomato. So we should be able to keep the painting pretty simple for you guys. So the nice thing is about food or anything like natural is it doesn't need to be like perfectly shaped. Kind of just adding this first layer in and then we can go back and add some like details later on. Try to avoid adding details right now. It makes it a lot easier if we just kind of get like a base layer. So we're almost doing an underpainting in a way, just to establish those values with color. We will work our way to all of the like little highlights and stuff. There's some darker color too. Those deeper shadows in like this section there at the back. Right where the shadows are. And then I'm just gonna kind of touch up the edge a little bit with my brush. Smoothing it along the edge just to give a sharper edge to the tomato. Bring it out here a little bit. You guys liking it so far? It's coming along already. Honestly, like this will be decently quick, this painting. Shouldn't take us too long. Mostly because I've done this painting before, so it's easier to do a painting a second time. Because the first time I was doing the painting, I was also like explaining it to my friend in person. Anytime I do like in-person classes, they definitely take a little bit longer. Lots of like little explaining things. I'm going to slowly add a little bit of this orangish color we made as we get into the light, because the light is coming from this section over here. A little bit more of that orange. Add some of those lighter highlights in at the end, so you can always do it over top of the paint. I'm leaving space for a few of the like really bright highlights because it's hard to get those bright highlights in. If you cover it, I kind of use the paper to my advantage. That's also why I don't like doing underpaintings. Kind of use the paper as a space to keep my highlights nice and bright. And then this orange on this side as well. At some point in these areas we'll need to grab like a smaller brush too, because this brush is pretty big. Harder to get around these areas. I might need a smaller brush soon. But we're doing okay for now. Trying to leave room for the stem portion as well. I'll go into the slightly brighter orange that I made as well. With this brighter orange. Do have to go into those lighter oranges at some point, but for now I think it'll be okay. Kind of in this area here. Maybe erased my sketch a little bit too much in this one area. It's okay. We'll just make it up as we go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a slightly smaller brush. This is a 0 flat brush, Seneca brush. Grab some of this orange. This really light orange. We're gonna try to add some of it in over here. Kind of like a highlight along the edge here. Just gonna add some highlight in there. And then grab a little bit of this red again. I'm gonna shape the tomato a bit more on the edge. They're vacuuming out in the hall. So you guys can hear that. Let's see. Okay. And then just clean this off a little bit. So we could just use a new brush. Then we have that for later. Yeah, it's not too bad. All of the vacuuming noises. Yeah, at least they're cleaning it. So that's ideal. Okay, so I'm gonna get into this nice bright white for the highlight that's like right around here. I want to start out by like putting the highlight color in, and then we're gonna like fade it along the edge. But in order to do that, we need to put the bright highlight in first. And there's also a little highlight here. Also a little highlight there. Got nice highlights on the top of the tomato. Along here, I wanted to like bring this up. last tomato I painted it like a little too light. Painted that one like a while ago, the old one. And so I wanted to make this one like a little bit darker this time. It was nice like revisiting old paintings. And then you can decide to change things if you want. Just gonna clean this part off because I want to go into that slightly darker orangey red. I'm gonna add some of that to this part here. And I've got I'm just adding more of that darker part here. I'm gonna grab a smaller brush for kind of getting those highlights. I'm gonna use my little brush here to do the highlights. I think we need to add a little bit more white to this. I'm just going to clean off the brush. Get it back into the white. And that should be okay. We'll one second. We're gonna try to fade this little highlight as well because it's too bright in there. You should be able to like make that look a little nicer by just kind of fading that around there. There we go. Not bad. And also play with the highlights that are over here as well. Also got some shadows on this tomato. Like these little shadows are going to be really fun to do. Do that next. We'll get some little shadows for the stems in there. And this line will look a little bit nicer, like all the stem areas will look a little bit nicer. So we get the leaves and stuff in there. Looks messy before it looks better. I'm marking out exactly where I want to put the stems at this point. I could even get them in there so then it's easier to get the shadows in maybe once we get the actual stems on. So I will put the stems in now. Let's grab a 10/0 liner brush. I'm using the Princeton Velvet Touch brushes. So I'm going to use this little guy here. Princeton Velvet Touch liner. These ones are some of my favorite liner brushes. We'll go in with the darker color first, and then we can slowly work our way to the lighter colors. Go. So this one's pretty dark here. And as it gets closer, there's the highlight. Make sure I have enough. I put a little linseed oil on it so it's a little more flowy. Goes on a little bit more flowy that way. Well, linseed oil. Takes longer to dry if you add linseed oil, but that's not really an issue. I like how slowly oil paint takes to dry. I'm doing really thin layers too, so the oil paint won't take as long to dry as it would with like a lot thicker of an application. So if you like to do super thick oil paints, then it is going to take longer to dry. We also don't need to match like this exactly. We can add a little bit of variations to the leaves, like if we want them to tilt a certain way. As long as you know where the light is coming from, you can always play with it a little bit and add your own little touch to things. And then just a little bit of that darker green here as well. darker color here as well. This one's kind of like curved up. Just adding the shadow in that one section. Then we can move on to the next color after this. Move into the next color. I'm just going to clean this brush off a little bit. I'm going to slowly add the other colors in here. Just attaching these parts. Slightly lighter color. We'll go in with a smaller brush as well to get some more details in there, because I feel like we need to add some more darker details as well. Gonna make a slightly lighter green. I feel like it needs slightly lighter green parts. Same with this area over here. There's a bit more that lighter green. You can kind of see it slowly coming together as you add more of these lighter parts as well. I feel like the color I used this time worked out pretty good. gotta go back in with like the darker color around the edge parts here. Make these a little bit thicker. And then, like I said, we gotta add some shadows on the tomato, and that'll kind of brighten things up a bit too. I'm going to grab, I have a 20/0 liner brush as well, and this one will work really well for those like really tiny details in the stem. Do that darker color. We will there we go. Sharpening the edges of these things a little bit more. You can also sharpen them with a little bit of this darker purpley color. You can add a little bit of blue even to it. Take a little bit of this dark red purple that we made. I'm gonna make a slightly darker color with this green. This will help us in those shadow areas a bit. A little bit of linseed oil in there. There we go. If you just keep dipping back into your palette, to that color, just because every time you do like a brush stroke, it will kind of pick up some of the other colors. Go. That's a lot darker, which is nice. I think we needed that purple to make it a little darker, especially on those edges. I'm gonna darken up the stem in the middle as well. Add the tip of the stem. Grab my other brush for that. Go into this kind of yellowish color that we made. Go back into that darker purple. I'm going to add some of those lighter colors back in again to the stem. So I'm just going to clean the yellow off a bit and go in with that lighter color, and we'll just add a few little highlights along the edge, a little brighter. Kind of dab it on. It's like a dabbing technique. You will have to touch up the edges. I'm noticing like around the tomato more. I want them to be like smoother. So we'll maybe work on that next, just kind of smoothing out the tomato a little bit more. There we go, just like dabbing those on, I think helps. There we go. Okay, we'll work on the edge now. I have another one of these brushes, so I'm going to try to find the 10/01. And I'm going to go around the tomato to make it like a little smoother because it's just not smooth enough yet. I have a drink over here. Make sure I'm sipping my drink. Okay. I'm going to take a little bit of this linseed oil. That's going to help us smooth it around the edges a bit more. So we're going to start with this darker color here. And we'll do a lighter color as well, but I think the darker color will be good. Especially around this edge. I need a bit more linseed oil for that. smooth out some of these rigid edges. So I wanted to make the tomato a little bit different shaped, so we're just adjusting the shape at this point of the tomato. Kind of play with the shape a little bit more. I want it coming out here a bit more. I'm going to use a bit of this bigger flat brush too. The flat brush will help. It's hard with like the cameras in the way. The downside of filming yourself is it's definitely a little bit harder to paint because the cameras are in the way. I've made workarounds though. Kind of. I think the smaller one was helping us a little more. I don't like the shape yet. Good there. Do you need me to just stand back and like look at it? Sometimes that can really help with determining the shape of things. If you're up close to things too much, it doesn't help. Just adjusting the shape like so slightly though, just so the proportions seem right. There we go. Okay, let's see. Adjust the top shape a little bit as well. like, why is my arm so sore today? I realized I painted a bunch last night. Holding up the pottery while painting is definitely a new challenge. Because you kind of have to hold it while the paint is drying. And as you're like applying it, it's just easier if you hold it. It's very different painting on pottery. And then also, like, you don't really know exactly what the color is going to look like, especially if you like mix colors when it comes to pottery. I have to go back there a few times just to like test out some like different designs and like play around a little bit. Maybe at some point, if you guys are interested, I could like paint on some pottery and like sell some pieces. I had some people saying that they would like some of my art on pottery, so I'm like, that would be kind of fun. I could go there, and what they do is they get local artists to like bowls and stuff, and then people can paint on them. I kind of like that, because I don't know how to do like all the sculpting stuff yet. I'd like to learn though. I feel like it'd be fun to learn how to sculpt and do all of the pottery stuff. I feel like I would really enjoy the sculpting aspect. Adjusting the shape of this up here. I'm gonna grab that really small one that we have. The shape of that, I feel like I'm going to shape the bottom a little bit when we do the shadow there, but the top shape is actually quite nice now. Adding a little bit of the highlights in this top part. Having to clean off this little brush though, because it gets the other color on it pretty quickly, so when I'm doing highlights, I'm going to have more of my highlight color on the brush. I get more of that highlight along the edge as well. It's a very like subtle highlight. It's like not really a highlight, but like a reflection, sorry. I keep saying highlight. So there's light reflecting because it's a shiny object. shiny vegetable. Same with over here. Quite a bit of that shiny kind of thing going on. More of that orange color in here. Can I get that darker red on this little brush here? Get some of that dark color down here now. So get some of this darker red at the bottom. And slowly kind of deepen this shadow on this side a little bit with that color, purplish color. That'll give us a nicer more on that one. Okay. Now we're going to add those shadows for the leaves, like right on top of the tomato there. Let's get those shadows on there. I'm gonna go, so we've got kind of, I guess, this darker color. Here. Kind of touch it up here. we go. Those shadows really help to define those areas a little bit more. Need a little bit more of that for another little shadow in the front here. To also use the smaller brush, all I'm doing is I'm going to take this lighter kind of orange color, drag it along the side to kind of touch up the edge of that shadow. Just a little bit of gotta go this darker color again. A bit of just a little bit of a shadow here. But it's like right against there, because this one doesn't lift off as much. That makes it like stand out a little bit more having those shadows. So it's really important we add those shadows for sure. Now, this one, I'm gonna also take one of the smaller round brushes. So I have a 3/0. I'm gonna use this for the highlight area. I noticed that we need a little bit more blending in the highlight area. Just along the edge here. Along that edge. I'm just gonna try to make this more of like a dry brush now because we're gonna do some blending with it. So I'm gonna get us to blend these white areas a little bit more. add a little bit more of a highlight here. I erased the highlight and now I just gotta add a little bit of it back in again. Kind of adding in those finishing touches along the edges of the shadows. Make that one a little bit brighter. Try not to make it too bright. This round brush doesn't have as much of a tip as the other brush, so I'm going to do so much detail work with it. That's why it's nice to have a bunch of different types of brushes. Go. You have to add that shadow in the bottom as well. So I'm gonna grab probably one of these little Josol blender brushes. I'll grab the number 4 one for now. It's probably gonna be our best bet for the little shadow part. And we're gonna be using more of this, like, add a little bit more ultramarine blue to this one. But this was going to be our shadow color here. Kind of more on, I guess, the red side. Now we're gonna do, just gonna take a bit of this pigment off. What we're gonna do is we're gonna add a little bit of this like white to it. So we're slowly gonna go to this like purpley color. Add a little bit of this in. Just adding a little bit of this green in so that purple isn't as bright. really gotta lighten it in this area. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use a dry brush technique. I kind of want to clean off this like little one. It's like my favorite one for doing shadows, but it does have the other pigment in it right now, so I gotta clean it off. I would say it's one of my favorites for doing shadows because it's just so tiny. I'm gonna just cleaning this off. Sometimes you have to twist it quite a bit. Put it in this linseed oil. I'm just kind of like taking another paper towel and like twisting the pigment out. Hopefully that's enough to do that. Okay. So we're gonna go in a little bit of this white color. I'm just gonna bring the white down here. Trying to get underneath here without getting too much of the red in it. It's okay if we have a bit of red in it because there is a bit of a reflection into the shadow of that red. As you can see, I'm just kind of slowly taking this like little nub of a brush and I'm just scrubbing it pretty hard on here just to like blend it. This is my favorite way to do shadows. We're going to make this lighter here. I'm just going to clean off this darker pigment. I'm going to grab more of this white now. We're slowly going to go into that lighter white. Get more of that white again. It's kind of fun to make the shadow a little bit purple too. This adds a little bit more visual interest. You could add, I mean, you could make it gray if you want, but I feel like it stands out more. Makes it more colorful and fun. A little bit more of that white. What are you guys doing after this? My plan is to clean our house a bit today, and then I'm also baking my friend a birthday cake on Friday. I'm going to do a rainbow birthday cake. I'm actually really excited about that. She really wants a rainbow birthday cake, and I've baked a lot of them in the past, so I get to do a rainbow tiered birthday cake. I'll have to take some pictures. Maybe we get to paint. We'll paint like some of the rainbow cake. I feel like that would be fun. I'm gonna do like a tester one today. I'm gonna test the recipe. I haven't tested it in our new oven yet because I haven't baked a cake in a while. So I want to do a test bake just to make sure the recipe is okay for Friday when I do bake it. Because I don't want to be experimenting on Friday. That would not be not be ideal. Okay, that shadow looks pretty good. Add a little bit more. Almost like a pinkish color as we fade out here because we're adding a little bit of that color. I like that. Looks pretty good. Not bad. I'm gonna fix a few of these little highlights in here. You know, honestly, they're pretty good though, so really shouldn't mess with it too much. Sometimes if you mess with things too much, it starts to look not great anymore. Quit while you're still ahead when it comes to this stuff. So this is what I mean about, so this is the other one I painted. So I made this one like lighter, but I really wanted to make like a darker tomato for this one. So I think I did a good job by making it a little darker this time. So we've got, it's just slightly darker in the other area, which I like. Nice, juicy, darker tomato. I think we kind of improved it there. The old one, new one. Old one, new one. Like that. Okay, we'll get just our final little bits over here. There we go. I hope you guys liked the painting today. It was really fun to do this little tomato again. It's always fun to like revisit things. So if there is any like my past paintings you guys want me to revisit, we could always do another live stream with like revisiting an old painting. That would be kind of fun. Kind of mess around with it a little bit and see if we can change things up a bit. I'm gonna go to the end screen. Thank you guys for coming today and hanging out and painting this little tomato with me. Make sure you follow me on social media if you haven't already and sign up for my email list and I can send you the reference photos every week. I will be gone for 2 weeks. I'm actually going to Rome next week with my husband, so I will be back at the end of September. But we will do another painting at the end of September. We'll get into, I guess, fall paintings at that point. So I'll figure out what we want to do for fall themed paintings. I'm thinking some pumpkin pie might be kind of fun, or we might do definitely some pumpkins, I'm thinking, or candy, especially like closer to Halloween. We'll get some like Halloween candy, which I think will be really, really fun to do that. And then yeah, I guess that's it for me for the stream today. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream, and I will see you in 2 weeks.